Lakers fans, stop what you're doing for a second, because what landed in my phone tonight is the type of message I normally sit on before even thinking about making a video. But listen to this. I checked it once, checked it twice, then spent way too long staring at the ceiling, because if this is real, and everything right now says it might be, this could completely reshape the future of this team. I'm not dragging this out for extra watch time either. I'm telling you exactly what I heard, exactly where this conversation started, and exactly why everybody suddenly started paying attention tonight. Because hold up, what happened on television wasn't normal. Usually you hear phrases like league sources or mutual interest. Not this time. This time, the message came across way stronger, and Lakers fans have been waiting years to hear words like this. Rudy Gobert to Los Angeles is suddenly becoming a real conversation. Stay locked in until the end though, because the part nobody is focusing on isn't whether this can happen, it's what the Lakers might have to sacrifice to pull it off. And trust me, that part changes everything. Quick favor before we keep moving. Hit that like button, because that small click really does help push these videos out to more basketball fans. It takes 1 second but makes a massive difference for the channel. Everything pushes the content further. Now, let's set the stage because context matters here. This season ended exactly the way Lakers fans were hoping it wouldn't. They survived Houston in round 1. For a minute, Los Angeles started believing again. Then Oklahoma City happened, and once that matchup started, it fell over almost immediately, down 0-3 and completely overwhelmed. And the toughest part of the whole thing? Luka Doncic, the guy this organization reshaped its entire future around after moving Anthony Davis, barely looked healthy enough to fight back. Meanwhile, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and that machine in Oklahoma City completely controlled the series. And when it ended, everybody watching came to the same conclusion. This roster in its current form isn't enough. The talent ceiling is still ridiculous. Having Luka and LeBron automatically gives you a championship upside few teams can match. But the weakness has been obvious for 2 straight years now. The paint, the rim protection, the interior defense, that's where this team keeps breaking down. And the front office knows it too, because since Anthony Davis left in the Luka deal, the Lakers haven't truly replaced what he gave them defensively. They haven't had a real rim protector. They haven't had that anchor sitting behind everybody cleaning mistakes up. They tried finding answers. DeAndre Ayton had moments in the regular season with efficient scoring and flashes of production, but once the playoffs arrived, those flashes disappeared when they needed him most. Jackson Hayes gave energy. He gave lob threats. He gave effort. But listen to this. Nobody realistically looks at Jackson Hayes and says that's the centerpiece of a championship defense. And Rob Pelinka knows that better than anyone. That's why we've seen the Mark Williams situation fall apart. That's why names like Nerlens Noel and Nick Claxton kept floating around, because this front office has been hunting for the same thing over and over, a true defensive center, someone who protects the rim, someone who catches lobs, someone who lets Luka and Austin Reeves attack freely knowing somebody is covering everything behind them.
And now, according to what was reported tonight and what ended up getting sent my way, the Lakers may have finally found the answer. And not just any answer either. Listen to this, because we're talking about arguably the best defensive center of this generation. Now, before people start asking where this came from, let me explain, because I know that's what everybody wants to know. I'm not sitting here pretending I've got secret sources calling my phone all day. I didn't get a private call, I didn't have an agent feeding me information behind the scenes. What I got late tonight was information that got passed around. Screenshots, conversations, and details from somebody close enough to the situation that it immediately caught my attention. And hold up, because what really stood out was how closely it lined up with the language being used publicly not long after. Same tone, same urgency. After Minnesota got bounced by San Antonio and watched another playoff run end early, it sounds like real decisions are finally being made. And according to everything floating around right now, their future priorities are shifting. The focus appears to be Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, their young French big man Yohan Berenger, who people around the organization reportedly love, and maybe not Rudy Gobert anymore. That's why Minnesota potentially being open to change suddenly matters, because the team that arguably needs what Gobert provides more than almost anybody is the Lakers. Now let's talk fit, because this is where the debate starts. There's always going to be people saying Gobert is washed. People say he's old. People say he gets exposed to switching. People saying playoff basketball makes him unplayable. And trust me, we're getting into all of that. But first, let's talk production, because numbers matter too. In year 13, Rudy Gobert still put up around 11 points, over 11 rebounds, and about 1.5 blocks while shooting an absurd percentage from the field. That efficiency matters. But here's the number Lakers fans should really focus on. He just made another all-defensive first team for the 8th time. Think about that for a second. 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 8 first-team defensive selections. This isn't some nostalgic conversation. This is still one of the most accomplished paint protectors basketball has seen over the last decade. And if he's truly available, of course teams are going to look. Now picture the lineup for a second. Luka running the offense, throwing those ridiculous passes only he sees, Austin Reeves next to him if the contract situation gets sorted out, which is a huge conversation by itself, Rui spacing the floor, LeBron, assuming he returns, forcing defenses to make impossible decisions, and then Gobert parked around the rim doing what he does best, catching lobs, protecting the paint, cleaning mistakes up, turning every drive into pressure at the basket. Because the truth is, the Lakers haven't consistently had rim protection like that since Anthony Davis was anchoring everything, and they definitely haven't had this kind of vertical threat paired with Luka. On paper, this is exactly the type of move that can change a playoff ceiling, which is probably why this conversation keeps getting louder.
Now let's hit the pushback, because there's plenty of it. First argument people keep using, he's too old. He's entering his mid-30s. My response? Look at the roster. LeBron is already deep into his 40s and still playing elite basketball. The Lakers aren't operating on a 5-year rebuild. This team is trying to win immediately. The LeBron timeline is shrinking. The Luka timeline is expanding. So for this specific roster, an older elite defender may not be a weakness at all. It might actually be the solution. Argument number 2 is the playoff criticism. People say smaller lineups expose Gobert. And listen, there's definitely history there. I'm not going to pretend that criticism came from nowhere. But you know what makes that concern easier to manage? Putting him next to elite offensive creators so teams can't just target his weaknesses every possession. Because with Luka and LeBron generating offense, the Lakers wouldn't need Gobert to become something he's not. They would just need him doing what he's always done at an elite level, protecting the rim. Minnesota asked him to carry enormous defensive responsibility every night. Los Angeles would be asking him to complete the picture. And listen to this, that difference matters a lot more than people realize, because you can't judge this move without looking at who the Lakers actually have to get through. Once you do that, everything starts making more sense. Look at the teams blocking the path. Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Minnesota. Those are the monsters waiting in the West right now. And what's the one thing those teams consistently do? They pressure the paint, they attack downhill, they force defenses to collapse, and they finish because the Lakers haven't consistently had someone waiting at the rim to erase mistakes. That was basically the story of the OKC series. Guards getting beat, rotations breaking down, and nobody behind the play cleaning it up. Now, hold up and picture that same matchup again. Imagine SGA getting into the lane, and instead of seeing open space, he's staring at a 7'1", 4-time Defensive Player of the Year waiting at the basket. That changes everything. It doesn't just improve the Lakers, it directly attacks the exact weakness contenders have been exploiting for years. This isn't about adding talent for the sake of adding talent. This is about patching the exact hole every contender keeps exposing. Now, here's where the conversation gets even bigger, because this isn't only about basketball, it's about LeBron James too. Right now, the biggest question hanging over this organization is still what LeBron wants to do next. He's 41, he's a free agent, and he's openly talked about not knowing how much longer he wants to keep going. Meanwhile, there are already conversations about other teams potentially becoming options if he wants one more title chase. That puts the Lakers in a difficult position, because this might be their biggest offseason in years, and they can't completely map things out until LeBron decides. So think about what a Gobert move would signal, because if they make this trade, they're sending a message loud and clear. We're building around Luka. We're fixing the biggest weakness.
And we still want you here. That's why a move like this isn't only roster building, it's also recruiting.
It's the front office looking LeBron in the eye and asking one simple question: are you staying or not? And before we finish this part, we have to talk about Luka, because everything runs through him now. This franchise belongs to him moving forward. He's locked into his massive extension. He's the centerpiece. He's untouchable. And whether people are ready for it or not, this is Luka's team for the foreseeable future. And the biggest favor you can do for Luka Doncic is put a real lob threat next to him. Give him a rim runner. Give him somebody who lives above the basket and finishes everything around the rim. Because if you go back and watch Luka with elite roll men before, you already know what happens. Now imagine a Luka Doncic and Rudy Gobert pick and roll. Listen to this, because that becomes one of the hardest actions in basketball to defend overnight. Help on Gobert rolling to the basket, and Luka slices your defense apart with passes. Stay attached to shooters, and Luka gets isolated one-on-one. There's no clean solution. That's why this fit keeps getting talked about. That's why the Lakers would be interested. And that's why this conversation exploded tonight. Now let's get to the question everybody actually cares about. Because people around the league have been waiting to see if Minnesota would finally make this type of decision. And if the answer really is yes, then the next question becomes simple. What's the cost? And hold up, because this is where things get uncomfortable. The Lakers don't have unlimited flexibility. They're dealing with tax issues, apron restrictions, limited assets, and matching a salary this large means real sacrifices. You're probably talking about sending out significant contracts just to make the math work. You're talking role players, rotation pieces, and possibly draft picks too. That's the painful part, because this front office already spent major assets bringing Luka in. To pull off another massive move, they may have to dig even deeper into what little flexibility remains. And here's what nobody wants to admit out loud. If this happens, this is an all-in move. No safety net, no backup plan, no easy reset button. Trading for a 34-year-old center while moving assets means you're announcing to the league that the championship window is right now, that LeBron and Luka's timeline matters more than long-term patience, and anything short of a deep run suddenly becomes disappointment. That's the pressure attached to this decision. But there's another layer too. Austin Reeves, because his situation changes everything. The Lakers have to figure out the money with Reeves. They have to figure out LeBron, and they have to figure out how a Gobert-sized contract fits with everything else. These aren't separate problems. This is one giant puzzle, and solving one piece affects every other piece. So when people hear reports connecting Gobert to Los Angeles, understand what that really means.
It means the front office likely already has contingency plans. It means they probably have a feel for where things stand internally. And it means they may have decided that maximizing Luka requires prioritizing defense and rim protection above everything else. That's not a small swing. That's a franchise-altering decision. So let's bring this all together. For years, Lakers fans have watched the same weakness show up at the worst possible moments. You had star power, you had an offense, you had highlights, but when playoff basketball slowed down, the same issue kept showing up. No interior defense, no rim deterrence, no defensive anchor. No answer when elite teams attacked the paint. And now suddenly there's a possibility that problem gets addressed. A 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, an elite rim protector, a player whose entire reputation was built on fixing exactly this issue. That's why people are paying attention. Tonight, I gave you the possible fit, the risks, the cost, the LeBron angle, the Luka angle, and now I want to hear from you. Do the Lakers push all their chips in? Is a 34-year-old Gobert still the missing piece? Or does this become the type of move people regret 2 years from now? And maybe the biggest question of all, does making a move like this convince LeBron to give it one more run? Drop your thoughts below because I read every comment. And if this story takes another turn, you already know where we'll be talking about it first. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time because the next few weeks could completely reshape the future of this franchise.